I know it's been a long evening. I'm going to be brief, I'm going to be sincere, and I'm going to be seated. But I want to thank the Hall of Fame Committee again this year for recognizing both of these teams. Thank you for all of your hard work and recognizing the achievements that both of these teams achieved. I'd also like to acknowledge all of the other inductees and congratulations on your awards and being inducted into the Hall of Fame. I was privileged to be on both of these teams, 76 and 77. I was co-captain in 1977 with Donnie Strickland. And Donnie couldn't be here this evening, so I've been asked to speak on behalf of our team. We heard from Bill Rogers on our 76 team, one of our captains, second baseman, and I truly believe that 1976 team laid the foundation for this 1977 team. Coach Fluke, as he mentioned, was coming back from Crowder College. We knew his reputation well. For those of you that don't know, he was the coach of the 1968 baseball team that is the only baseball team to win the NAIA World Series. And so we knew that he was going to expect a lot, and we were excited that he was going to be rejoining the William Jewell program when he returned. It was kind of an interesting team because in 1977 we only had 3 seniors on that team. We were comprised primarily of underclassmen. I was one of the 3 seniors, but we had some wonderful freshmen that had joined the program. We had some junior college transfers that had come in, and some other underclassmen that had been with the program as well. After we went to the World Series in '76, as Coach Fluke was known to do, he decided to change things up a little bit in 1977. And one of the first things that he did in 1977 was he ordered us brand new uniforms. And I don't know if you can, these are the new uniforms right here. And you'll see a picture of the 76 team with the older style uniforms. And I tell you what, they were really nice. They were kind of a replica of the St. Louis Cardinals baseball team uniform. They were good looking uniforms. And we were all real excited about them until he pulled out the hats that he wanted us to wear. And in a second here, if you'll take a look at the picture of Coach and Donnie Strickland and me, I want you to see the hat that Coach Fluke had for us that year. I mean, I'd never seen anything so ugly in my life. And thank God I was a catcher because I didn't have to wear the hat. There they are right there. And so we had these beautiful uniforms, and then he pulled these hats out. But Coach Fluke's going to talk about that more in a minute, so I don't want to steal his thunder, but things were a little bit different in 1977. As Bill mentioned, we had a hard time kind of gelling, kind of fit together in '76 because we had a new coach, a new system, a new way of doing things. But in 1977, we got off to a pretty good start. And we had outstanding pitching, we had good senior pitching, we had good freshman pitchers. Jimmy Ray Haynes is a legend in our history. He's the guy that threw a no-hitter against Iowa State that year. We had good young pitchers. We had good, solid defense. We had powerful offense. But we had guys that could hit for power, but then there would be times Coach Fluke would ask one of those power hitters to lay down a bunt, to move a guy over to second base in a tight game late in the game where he wanted to have an opportunity to get that guy in. And so his style of coaching, I think, was very, very unique. There were certain situations where he just expected whoever was up at that plate to know what their job was and what they were supposed to do. Many times he wouldn't even go to the coaching box to coach. We knew if there was one on, one out, and a man on first, and the number 4 hitter was up, what that hitter was going to do. Or if there was another situation, what the number 8 hitter was going to do. And he instilled that system then for several years, and the team just responded well to that type of situation. We had some great baseball players on these teams. I was reading an article this morning when I was kind of reminiscing about getting ready about what to talk about. And we played a series in the middle of our season against Northwest Missouri, Missouri Western College, our arch rival that we had to beat both years to move on to the area tournament. Iowa State was there and K-State was there. And there was an article written that talked about those games and how we did in those tournaments. We didn't win every one, but I think we won 4 of the 6 games. But as I was reading through those articles, I just started jotting, making notes about who the article mentioned, and about this player getting a home run, and this player getting an RBI, and this player laying down a bunt, or this player making a good defensive play, or this player breaking up a double play. And by the time that I finished that article over those 6 games, every single player that was on our roster that year was named in that article. And that's the kind of team that this was. It's a tremendous group of athletes, a tremendous group of guys to be around. This team, the trademark of it, though, was that we always expected to win, and we did just about everything we could to win. We were very, very resilient. In '76, we just about didn't get out of districts. We had to come through the losers bracket against Missouri Western and win 3 games in a row without losing any to move on to the area tournament, and we did that. The same thing happened to us in 1977. We had to come through the losers bracket, win 3 in a row, then we went to areas and we lost our 2nd game, and we had to win 3 games in a row again to get back to the World Series. And this team did that, and that's why this team set the school record for getting 43 wins in a season. These guys were going to do whatever it took to win. But we also had a lot of fun. And I know it's been a long, but I'm going to tell you just 2 quick short stories about some of the things that it was just fun to be on this team. We traveled all over the country. Coach Flute, he'd get us to a place, we'd check in, and he always wanted a freshman to room with a senior or a junior. He believed in that. He wanted the older guy to show the younger guys the ropes. So I remember one night we had this freshman pitcher, and he's here tonight, but I'm not going to name him. And he was playing with one of our senior guys, a left-handed pitcher, who was a little bit quirky, so it was a good match. So anyway, the senior guy, we had to share beds back then. I mean, we got $2.35, I think, for lunch money or dinner each year, so we had to share beds. And so the senior left, he's in bed, and the freshman starts to crawl in bed next to him, and he'd like to sleep in the buff. That senior pitcher looked at him and said, "What the heck do you think you're doing?" He said, "Well, this is where I sleep." And he said, "Not with me." And they literally took the bed apart, and every time they grew together, one slept on the box springs and one slept on that. There was another guy here tonight, Barry Davies. This big guy sitting back here in this maroon shirt. He'd hit a home run and say he bullwhipped one. He said, "I just bullwhipped that one right out of the park." He hit a grand slam one game our senior year. Great teammate, funny guy. And Barry, he'd come back in after a bad bat or something like that, and he'd kind of go down to the end of the dugout by himself, and he'd kind of look down at him, and he'd be talking to somebody. Only there was nobody there. And we finally figured out that he had a little buddy, and his buddy's name was Ghost Runner. And everywhere we went, Ghost Runner went. And Ghost Runner sometimes took infield, sometimes he didn't. Ghost Runner sometimes made the bus, sometimes he didn't. And it was so much fun, though, watching this big hunk of a man talk to his little buddy, Ghost Runner. And to this day, my boys and my wife know who Ghost Runner is. But we had a great time, and it was such a good ride. But just to kind of put this in perspective, I believe that in 1977 there were approximately 750 NAIA schools that fielded baseball teams. And we ended up being one of the final 6 playing for the national championship. We had 4 individuals on the 1977 team that have already been inducted into this Hall of Fame. Jim and Jack Talley, Jimmy Ray Haynes, and last year I had the privilege of being inducted myself. We had 6 players off of the 1977 team that either went on to play professional baseball or had the opportunity to play professional baseball. And you got to remember, when we went to the NAIA World Series, we had a limited roster. We could only take 18 players with us. And of that group, 6 of those guys were good enough to have the opportunity to go on after college and play professionally. But even with all that talent, none of this would have been possible without Coach Fred Flute. You already know he's a Hall of Fame coach, but he was the glue that kept us together. He was the guy that made everything work. And Coach, I told you last year during my induction ceremony, You are the best coach I ever played for. I thank you for everything. And now, Coach Luke, if you'll come up, I'd like you to say a few words.
Story, isn't it? You know, I'm going to thank Doubleday, Alexander Cartwright, two men who started this game. And you think about it now, what is going on with the game of baseball. It's amazing to watch. One of the things I liked about this particular group, and I was fortunate to have very good teams almost every year. And the biggest thing I asked of them was hustle, have respect for the other team, because they're there to beat you. And the thought that have pride in yourself. Wear your uniform like we did in the military. And that was a big factor to me in all of them did that. We had a lot of fun. I wanted them to have fun, but I wanted them to do it right. And that was basically what we tried to do. There was many things that happened with this team that you could write a book. I know Barry Davies has still got the glove. We had a triple play which would have ended the area tournament at Joplin. Well, I'm sorry, it was St. Joe. And the ball went through his first baseman's mitt. We'd have had a triple play. He said he still got that glove. I asked him, did he fix it? And I'm glad Gary mentioned the fact about how many of these boys went on. A record that I've had here, out of 4-year students who attended William Jewell and played baseball over my years, 32 of them, I only had 6 who were here 4 years and graduated. 6 of them didn't graduate. 3 of those 6 went into baseball. And at that time, earlier, we were required foreign language to graduate. And one of those boys didn't take the foreign language. But it was interesting how he went on and became the commissioner of the Big 8 baseball. And his name was Bob Sam Jones. And he's still working with the Big 12 in baseball. This group came out of a 6-19 record the first year. We were 6-19 when we started playing the conference play. And we won 22 of the next 23 games. Thanks to the fine pitching of those young men who took it on themselves to work hard. And that's the secret to the whole thing. Have fun, but do it right. And it's interesting. I tried to make some notes. Mark Lavery isn't here. All of you remember Mark. He is, as far as I know, he's still in the military. And he whacked me with a bat one time coming out of the dugout at Arkansas, and I wasn't right for the whole trip. But anyway, the story I want to tell about Mark, he had a girlfriend, and she baked a cake and gave it to him right before we left on our trip. You guys remember this? And on the cake it said, "I hate baseball." You're born with us and not going to stay and go with her to Florida or something. And Mark was going to throw it away, and I said, "To heck with that, just wipe all that off." So that's what we did. Mark was something else. I said it was interesting. Jimmy Ray, the slow Oklahoman that we've got here, came with me up from Crowder, and Donnie Strickland was the young black player. And he came up with me and Mike Kennedy, got 5 boys. And the thing that I had to deal with that first year was the fact that I'm the new coach and dealing with the guys that were already there. I just got together in the fall. We had a little fall practice. And Gary wasn't there because he was running the football team. So I stuck Rick Lucas behind the plate. He probably caught a little, I agreed, back when he was younger. And he worked out as a catcher. Well, we get to the area playoffs, and Gary had a little piece of discussion with an umpire, and the umpire told him to take a walk. Well, I had to take Rick out of right field and put him behind the plate. And you know what? All 3 of those pitchers who pitched to him pitched perfectly, because Rick hadn't caught a game all year until that tournament, and he did a great job. And it's just, you know, that was the kind of things that these kids did. They bunted the ball when I wanted them to bunt the ball. They hit the ball and they didn't run it. They ran because they loved playing the game, and that's why they won. And I know we beat some teams that were far, far better, but they wanted to win, and that was the secret. You gotta want to win. Thank you. Appreciate it.